Tapping in, tapping in. Peace, love, and prosperity, family. Yahki TV, man. Sugar is a demon. Diabetes, baby.
When you get into diabetes, it stands for sweet urine because the pancreas have been compromised, the nervous system have been compromised, the autonomic nervous system have been compromised, and basically the sugar is not penetrating the cells so the cells can yield this energy called ATP, which stands for adenosine triphosphate. So when you start breaking down these different levels of diabetes, it'll show you which system inside the body or which cells inside the bodies that make up the tissues or make up the organs is compromised. For instance, diabetes mellitus 1, or what they call hyperglycemia. You start dealing with something where the sugars inside of the body is not making it into the cell because insulin is failing to do its job. Insulin is a hormone and it's like an alcohol solvent. And what insulin is, it acts as the key factor to a door. The door is supposed to go in the cell, and insulin acts as that key to open that door for sugar can penetrate the cells. That way the cell can yield its energy through burning off the fuel. Then you got hyperglycemia, or what they call diabetes mellitus 2. And this is simply the adrenal glands is not functioning properly, or because the adrenal glands is in control of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system, or what we call the autonomic nervous system. And these are the things that run on autopilot. And one of these autopilot things that the adrenal glands is in control of is sugar metabolism. And that's what the adrenal glands is for. It metabolizes corticosteroids, it metabolizes sugars, it metabolizes steroids, it metabolizes hormones. And not only that, it is for the utilization of all your essential minerals and your trace minerals and amino acids. So when you start getting into diabetes 1, that's insulin dependent because you're not producing enough insulin, which we're going to dive deep into. And then you get into diabetes 2, it is simply the adrenal glands is not working because neurological problems is messing up. Whenever you start talking about the autonomic nervous system or you start talking about the adrenal glands, you always got to take in consideration the central nervous system, which is the brain, the cardiovascular nervous system, which is the heart mechanism, and last but not least, the autonomic nervous system, or what they call the intrinsic nervous system, which is the adrenal glands. And this deals with all the serotonin and melatonin that's produced by the gut. So we're going to dive deep into it, and we're going to pull out our models, and we're just going to show an example of exactly what we're talking about.
Yahki awaken.
So what we're going to go deep into right now is diabetes mellitus 1, or what they call hyperglycemia 1. And again, once you get into diabetes 1, it's insulin dependent, meaning that there's something going on inside of the pancreas where the pancreas structure functioning of the cells is not holding its integrity enough to actually produce the insulin. We have to remember that insulin acts as a key to a door. The specific door that I'm talking about is the door to the cell. And the insulin is that key that unlocks the door. And once it unlocks the door, glucose, or your sugars that goes through this process of ATP, or what we're going to call fuel metabolism,
Facts.
to yield energy, you need to be able to penetrate that cell
and release right
layer of the cell. And that's what glycogen do. Glycogen is actually produced by the pancreas. Now, when you look at the pancreas it's actually, your stomach is connected to your gallbladder, it's connected to your small intestinal tract that they call the duodenum, and it's connected to your spleen. And we're going to talk about the spleen in a minute because the spleen is associated with the damage of the pancreas a lot, because the spleen is a specific organ that's attached to a specific system that if this system starts failing, then the spleen will start backing up into the organs, corroding all the cells that make up this specific organ. So now when you're looking at the pancreas have something in it called the islets of Langerhans. And what the islets of Langerhans is, it's a group of associated cells that sit inside the pancreas. And these groups of associated cells are made to produce certain type of things. So, for instance, one of the cells, associated cells inside the islets of Langerhans is called the alpha cells. Another one is called the beta cells. Another one is called the delta cells. Glycogen is a sugar measure. It brings the sugar up inside of the blood. And then you have the beta cells.
They don't want you to know this.
Control of producing something called insulin. Insulin
like banana beats.
Hormone / alcohol.
I put y'all on that.
It actually takes the sugar, glucose that's inside of the bloodstream.
Binaural beats for healing.
Factor to open the door of the cell to deliver the goodies, or what we're going to call sugar, for the cells can start metabolizing the sugar and using it as, you know, energy. ATP, which stands for adenosine triphosphate, ADP, adenosine diphosphate, AMP, adenosine monophosphate.
You don't want BPA.
The body converts energy.
They give you BPA, will mess you up.
So you can do your daily life things like breathe, talk, live, think, walk, run, work out, go to work, and all these other things. You cannot do none of these things if it wasn't for glucose or fructose or galactose. All right, and we're going to talk about sucrose and maltose and pentose, which is sugars that you do not need, because these sugars are cooked in laboratories, and these are processed sugars, and these sugars are neurotoxins that kills the body and give you diseases like hyperglycemia. So we're going to stick to regular, naturally grown sugar in fruits and in vegetables and carbohydrates, and that is the glucose factor. So the beta cells inside of the pancreas,
carbohydrates, glucose,
is basically associated tissues and associated cells. That's a glomerulus.
You're a carbonated being. You need carbohydrates.
The alpha cells, they make glycogen. Glycogen is what raises the glucose in the blood. The beta cells make insulin. Insulin is what lowers the sugar in the blood, but it lowers the sugar in the blood by doing two things. Either sending the sugar back to the liver for storage, to store these sugars up and turn them into fats, or to be a key mechanism to the cell and open up the cell door to deliver glucose to the cell for the cells burn it off. Then you have something called a delta cell. And the delta cells actually produces something called simultastatin. And what simultastatin is, it's made of glycogen, it's made of insulin, and it's made of a pituitary growth hormone, showing you that the pituitary gland and the thyroid gland actually governs the pancreas along with the spleen. So if you have any type of pancreas issues, we already know off back that we need to check the pituitary. We already know off back that we need to check the thyroid and the parathyroid. We already know off back that we need to check this lymphatic associated organ that we call the spleen. Notice the word I said, lymphatic.
Right, lymphatic system.
Lean back to a lymphatic system.
Facts.
Compromise. Now,
Facts.
what we figure out is why
Yahki TV, man.
And what is stopping the beta cells of the pancreas from
intelligent young brother, man.
Insulin can act as that key mechanism and take glucose.
This man a goat of the body, man. Real goat of the body.
Energy, and you can get ATP. Now, when you start really speaking about diabetes mellitus 2 or hyperglycemia 2, you start getting into
Stop playing, man. A goat.
And that's